Hey there everybody, it's Mark Crowley. I'm back with another How to Draw video. Today we're going to be learning how to draw the face of a wolf. What I've done here is drawn two perfect squares. They're about 4 centimeters on each side. And what I'm going to do right now is zoom into this lower square so that we can get to work on the face itself. Alright, so I'm going to begin by drawing the eyes, and what you're going to want to pay attention to is the size of these circles compared to the square itself. They're quite small, and I don't know if I want to go so far as to give you a measurement for them, but that's part of the reason why I do things like draw a perfect square like this, just to help you sort of see the distance between the objects and so forth. So we have these the two circles for the eyes, and the interesting thing about a wolf's eyes that I noticed as I was studying sort of photo reference is that there's this area around the eye itself, a dark black area that has this interesting shape. Those of you who are experts in wolves, please chime in the comments section. Let me know, is there a name for this area? Because I don't believe it's part of the eye itself. It's the surrounding black area, and there may even be an explanation for how it helps the wolf see or whatever, but it certainly looks cool. And that's all that I care about for today. So notice the shape of it and how it's kind of curving down, and that there's this this little hook here at the end. Again, I have to be careful because there's got to be different varieties of wolf, that they aren't all exactly the same. I should be careful about making it sound like this is the way to draw all wolves. What I'm going to do, because this is going to be more or less the same thing, I'm going to go into time-lapse just to draw this the same way on the other side. Alright, so we've got this area kind of shaded in on both sides, and it's time to draw the pupil of each eye. What I noticed was that the pupil itself reminded me a little bit of the kind of pupil of a human eye in terms of the proportions, but in the photos that I was looking at, the pupil was very near the top of the circle. Almost sort of joining with it a little bit. But you'll notice I'm leaving a sort of highlight area at the top of the pupil that's representing a shimmering light of some kind. That makes will eventually make the eye look shinier. Again, in time lapse, I'll go ahead and repeat that over here. Alright, so you may have to refine these a little to get them to match one another. It's always a challenge. I hear from people saying, I can draw one eye, but then I try to make the other eye match, and it's there's no silver bullet solution for how to solve that problem. You just have to keep working at it. In any case, it's time to move down to drawing the nose. And what we're going to do is shoot all the way down to the bottom line of that box, that first box that we drew, and try to get a sort of gently curving area that comes in like so. I would say that it's about a third of the square, maybe just a touch over a third. For the distance from across this line here. And it's time now to finish off the nose itself. Now, what I had to sort of struggle looking at different photographs of wolves' noses to sort of observe the details, because they are kind of jet black, and very often a photograph won't pick up the full details of it, but I was able to observe in at least one of them the structure of the nose. And if I was looking at it properly, it actually sort of opens up on the sides, comes in, and you've got a couple of circles here, right, that are the actual nostrils. And in between them, a line that's sort of dividing this. Now, it doesn't go all the way to the top. It sort of, peters out as it reaches the midpoint between them. But what I noticed is that, the nose is curving down. This lower part here is more or less horizontal. And then this area over here sort of curves down, and that becomes the actual structure of the nose. Now, like I said, in a lot of photographs, as this gets colored in and is very dark, jet black, you will barely even see the details of this, but I thought it was worth, at the beginning, sort of showing you what the structure was. Now, I guess I can go in and sketch a little bit of the dividing lines that you're eventually going to see. This has more to do with the patterns of the fur, and again, I must assume that different types of wolves are going to have different patterns of fur, but I'm going to just go ahead and draw in here a line that is going to help us separate out the sort of darker fur from the lighter fur. And you'll eventually see that on this side over here there's a patch of white, basically, and that the line here is showing me where I will want to be putting some gray fur, and that eventually I want to focus on the direction that all these various pieces of fur take as they cover the face. That can be quite a challenge, because it seems they do sort of shoot off in different directions. But before we get onto that, I think I've got enough space here with the way the camera is focused to draw the rest of the mouth. So let's go down here underneath the nose, doing a gently sort of frowning looking line. It's kind of funny that I'm saying frowning, because as I looked at photographs and studied this, it does sort of curve up. There's an area here that normally, we human beings would look at it and say, he's smiling. The wolf is smiling at me. Which is not the case, I don't think, unless, I don't know, I mean, you'd have to ask the wolf. Hey, dude, are you smiling? What is this? What's with the curving line going up on either side? But I found that, indeed, looking at a great many photographs from this point of view, the line of the mouth does kind of curve up. And you'll see later on when I go to the shading part of the video that this area ends up being quite dark, kind of blackened. And the last thing to put in here, although I fear I'm getting down to the bottom of my video, hang on, I'm just going to shift the focus for a second. Just wanted to make sure that you would see the extent of the bottom of the mouth here. And that basically gives us the details of the face. A lot of it comes in with the shading later on. But let's pull back, refocus, so that I can show you where the top of the head and the ears come in. So what I'm going to do now is extend this line across that I had here initially. This is going to just sort of help me figure out how to place the ears, right? So this line goes across like so. Now the one other thing, if you can, is just sort of estimate a repetition of that square over here, right? So you get around the same thing. And you can drop in another line like so, and also over here, so that you basically get one final set of guidelines here for drawing the ears. Now, I know a lot of people hate to draw guidelines, and if so, just skip that part. Just stick your fingers in your ears and say, this can't be happening. He is not drawing more guidelines. It's not, no, there are no more. He's done. But I do find them useful for making sure that I see the spaces between things. Now, I'm drawing the top of the head here, sort of an unusual curving shape that comes to a little bit of a peak as it nears the top of that first box that we drew oh so long ago, way back at the beginning of the video. And it's time now to finally move on to drawing the ears, the moment you've all been waiting for. Can he do it? Finally, the ears. Now, if you see where there's this intersection of those two lines, that's going to help you maybe see where the ears, where one of them anyway, begins. Of course, you want to focus on the angle of this line, and then maybe in terms of figuring out the extent of the ear, see where this the second line comes in. I would say about 2/3 of the way across there. That is where we're going to have that ear come to an end. And, have it kind of curve up here. It's not going to come to a super sharp point. It's sort of what we would call a rounded point. Oh boy, here I am having to refocus probably. Hang on a second. Just wanted to pull back so you could see the full extent of it. But yeah, it's not coming to an absolute point. It's sort of a curved point up here. And as we come across here, you're going to find that, there's very, very tiny little fur, bits of fur that cover the ear towards the peak. But as it comes down, we get the fur, each piece of fur, does that make sense? Piece of fur, getting longer and longer, and sort of fanning out, the lines coming horizontally out here at much greater lengths. And then, as I said, they get smaller and smaller as it reaches the peak of the ear. Now, again, this involves repetition here, so I'm going to go ahead and do this other ear in time-lapse. Alright, so we finished both of the ears, and I'm going to come in here and show, again, sort of focusing throughout this drawing on the length of the fur, because it is quite different lengths on different parts of the face. But we get a lot of vertical fur coming off the top of the head, sort of at a mid-length, not super long, not super short. And, looking at this, someone might look at this drawing and say, boy, it looks a lot like a dog. Rather than a wolf. But the truth is, as I studied photographs, and indeed dogs and wolves are related, you will find that there are, it's very subtle differences, I think, between a dog and a wolf's face when it comes to doing a drawing of one. Now, what I'm doing here is adding a sort of a dividing line that shows, again, where I'm eventually going to be shading in a gray area versus a white area. And so these two lines here especially, and I noticed in some photographs that there was an area above each eye that almost looked like an eyebrow, almost like a human eyebrow, but maybe just a sort of a dark area. I don't believe it, serves the same function as an eyebrow. Who knows? Again, if you know more about wolves than I do, and I'm sure you do, it ain't saying much, because this guy knows nothing about wolves. Tell me about that if you have also observed this sort of black eyebrow-like area above each eye. Well, we're getting to the point where I want to start talking about the direction of the fur on the head. And I'm going to do this kind of quickly and show you how you're getting a lot of small, short, vertical lines here. These are not the final lines. This is just kind of to show you the direction of things. Maybe I should zoom in a bit more so that you can see this more clearly. So yeah, as I studied these photographs, I began to try to get a sense of what direction the fur goes in, so that, you're not just sort of randomly filling this in with lines. But certainly we get a lot of vertical line fur direction right here across the upper part of the snout. And then it begins to fan out in these, different directions, heading gradually off to more of a horizontal direction. And in fact, I would say, based on